Hello, hello,
How's it going?
Miss Carolina Sanchez. Can I call you Caro?
Yeah,
That's what I remember you as.
yeah, I go by Caro, so all is good. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Chicago?
Um,
Are you in Chicago? I saw that your recent photos were in San Antonio. Are you in San Antonio?
oh no. It was just like a throwback Thursday, flashback
Oh,
Friday kind
everybody's
of thing.
doing that, right? Like when we
Yeah,
used to be able to travel and go out.
I know, but no, I'm in Chicago right now.
And how is it? That's Chicago became like one of the epicenters, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's like a lot of people didn't take it serious in the beginning, and like I was still working. I had my last gig on a Sunday, like before the whole like the next week everything just closed down. So it's crazy. The streets are empty on 18th. That's new.
Wow.
So yeah, everything's closed. There's restaurants still open, helping out, and it's I've just been at home. Like
Los Comales still open? Is everybody just doing like delivery or curbside pickup or what?
yeah, a lot of like I live right next to Honky Tonk, so they're doing pickup. Like Los Comales added like a lot of restaurants added windows, those like slide door
Oh
ones,
wow.
so they can do like carry out stuff. You just pick up and go.
I see.
But
I see you're wearing polka dots. I was looking at your site today, and you have this thing about polka dots. Who's Tell me who Kusama is. Kusama?
Kusama, Yayoi Kusama is she came out during like when art pop started coming out. She's a Japanese artist. I don't know what really attracted me to the polka dot thing, but I think just having like a consistent pattern and like having something formalized. And like that deals with a lot of her work, but also a lot of her work deals with sexuality. So it's just like a mix of like pattern making and sexuality. And like if you haven't seen her work, you should definitely go check it out.
I
But
mean, and, and for anybody who doesn't know, you're a photographer. When I was at Gosamos, you were like Gosamos' main photographer. But then like just doing a little research for this chat of ours, I'm like, damn, this girl's got fucking credentials up the ass, dude. Like, what? Let me read some Columbia College, like the photography program. You were senior photo editor there at the student newspaper. And then you were staff photographer for his Chuy Garcia's mayoral
oh yeah.
campaign in 2015. Teaching artist, National Museum, Mexican art. Good God, man! Like, and then Chicago Tribune and Oi, and I see you have like a lot of Bull stuff. I was like, damn, I've been sleeping on this girl, man. And then you obviously, your big thing is that you do a lot of music photography, right?
Yeah, I mostly deal with the Latino indie scene in Chicago. So it all started from there, basically. From before Gozamos, I actually started with a festival called Festival de Música Electrónica Latina.
Yeah.
So I just emailed them one day, and that's where the start of my festival career started coming through, music wise.
You seem to have like, is it? I'm assuming if you like music, you're eclectic, right? But like, also you're deep in the Latino indie scene, man. Like I look into your photos and you're naming artists. Like I know some of them, but like
Mhm.
most of them, I'm like, who, from where, from what do they do? Like, holy cow, man! How is that to be? Like you said that you're such a fan of music, and I know you. The other thing on your bucket list was that you had a flute that you used to play buried in your closet that you want to pick up again. But
Yeah, she's still here somewhere. I don't know where she is.
you looking around the room. But
No, I, not a lot of people know this, but I actually studied music like 9 years of my life
oh wow.
before going into photography. I studied classical flute and I picked up the saxophone here and there, but because my brother didn't play anymore. But yeah, it's interesting because I think growing up, there's this TV show called Telehit. Well, there's a canal called Telehit, and they sparked my interest in getting into more Latino music because I lived in the middle of Michigan. There
Mm.
wasn't really much to do. I was out in the country.
You were born
Like
in Detroit, right?
I was born in Detroit, but my parents didn't want us to stay there. And plus my dad moved a lot for his job.
So you guys
So
moved to Bumble of Michigan?
yeah, we were like, here,
I
all
heard that's
Michigan knows
right in the
that.
center of the palm. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we were probably like 30 minutes from Lansing, but um, I think I got curious because growing up, I didn't think like I knew I was Latino, but then I was just like, wait, there's more to this. Like, there's like Telehit. Why am I watching these channels? Why am I listening to different music than other kids were? So I think from there, like all that kind of just came together. It's just like I like music and I want
That's
to
a
learn more about it.
that's a theme in this show. I mean, the last episode I had Claudio on, and we were talking
Oh.
about Olgo Stamos crew. We are talking about we are talking about just that. Like, you're raised not around a lot of Latinos, but you know you're Latino, and you're like, what is that? What is Mexican? Your
hmm
parents are from Oaxaca, so you're probably when was the first time you went to visit Oaxaca? Did you go as a
I
kid? Were you
I
one of those kids, or
Yeah, I went as a kid. Like
you're lucky?
I think I went when I was like 10, but I only saw my mom's family first because my dad's town is like 6 hours out in the
Oh
mountains
wow.
somewhere. So it was in the capital, but yeah, I was lucky enough to go see my family every once in a while. We would go for summers for months and then come back to Michigan, start it all up again.
So you hadn't gone till you were 10, right? So like, if
Oh
it's like
no,
me,
I've gone like recently.
oh no, I'm saying you hadn't gone till you were 10 as a
Yeah, yeah,
kid.
yeah, yeah.
So
hmm
like for me, like my mom's from Honduras, and my mom and my aunts and my grandma would talk about Honduras, and it's like if you haven't been there as a kid, it's like Honduras is like this kind of mythical place, or Oaxaca's this mythical place where everything's magical and everything's that's where we
Yeah.
come from, but you can't imagine it, right?
hmm
I mean, what when you went back, Oaxaca's on my list, my bucket list, because like
Should go.
if you watch a lot of I like watching all those food shows,
Oh
and
yeah.
Oaxaca's like a food capital of Mexico, if not the world,
Oh yeah. I have like my mom sent me a Oaxaca package recently. Like she gave it to like my brother's
Oaxaca
girlfriend and then
package.
she brought it to me and like I have tlayudas in my freezer. I have chapulines, quesillo, like you need to go. Like I have mole too. I forgot that I had mole in there. So I'm
No,
just
tell me
like,
why like a big box from Amazon shows up on my doorstep, and I go, what is this, And my wife and stepdaughter open it up. They're Mexican, and it's
mhm.
fucking all this Mexican candy, fucking
Oh
mazapan and
snap.
fucking everything, pulperindos and all that shit. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
bellarindos.
I'm not Mexican, so I didn't grow up with even
hmm
Mexican candy, like that.
hmm
I didn't like spice until I met her. I couldn't have, Puerto Rican. Yeah, I'm Honduran, Puerto Rican, so we like sweet fried shit.
Yeah.
And she's always like, "You
Mm,
guys fry the shit out of everything." She thinks Puerto Rican food
that's
is so
good
dry,
though. Oh no. I like it. Um, I actually didn't like spicy food growing up
Oh
either.
wow.
So like I would eat like the little candies here and there, like the powdered Lucas, but the sweet one.
I mean,
But
it's got to be an acquired taste. Like I'm thinking of like if you give a baby like some chili powder or some candy with chili powder, they're gonna be like, oh,
hmm
they're gonna react. Nobody likes it the first go.
but I did like Airheads. I loved Airheads for some reason growing up.
No, I think when you're a kid, you just like everything sugary, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
used to love. My thing is not Airheads, and my wife likes Airheads and Nerds and all that shit. But I like fucking donuts and cookies and cakes and shit con café.
I,
Ooh.
I'm a chip girl. I love my chips.
I don't know. I don't know a Latina who doesn't like flaming hot Cheetos. That's
Oh,
my
I don't.
theory. Discuss.
I'll eat them, but then it's not like my go-to.
What's your
I'm like,
go-to?
my go-to. So there's a brand in Michigan called Jay's or Lay's.
Yeah. That's in Chicago
Yeah,
too, right?
Jay's. Yeah, it's in Chicago too. But they make these jalapeno crunchers, and like that's the reason that I gained a lot of weight when I was like
Wait, isn't
15.
it like in a black and a green bag?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, that
real
one.
crunchy. Oh hell
Mm-hmm.
yeah, dude! Those are fucking
Crunches.
amazing, dude. But they give you got to have like a beer. You have to have something to drink every
hmm
fucking third chip, man, because
I
they're real
know.
salty, right?
Oh yeah, they're super salty, but they're so
Yeah,
good.
man, I can talk to you about chips and chip. I mean, I lived on
I
chips,
know.
man. But no, the interesting I think I saw is that your dad was a photographer, right, for a newspaper in Oaxaca too, right?
So my dad, when he first moved to the capital of Oaxaca, he got a job developing in the darkroom
Right.
of a newspaper. So that's when he like always like tell me stories of like the big enlargers, like the mega enlargers that you would use for
And
like
do you remember
newspapers.
I mean, this is back in Oaxaca, so he moved and then yeah. But
Yeah,
so you must have. I mean, what did you think hearing about this dark room? I mean, it's crazy.
yeah,
I love when and kids are so lucky when they're introduced to art so young, like that.
yeah. It was interesting because like I didn't really think about like art being part of the like our family,
Yeah.
but then my mom, she can draw, she can sew. My brother, he can paint, he can like do really well charcoal stuff. My dad's really into music and he does photography. I've never seen my dad without a camera.
That's
growing
crazy.
up, either of like a VHS camera or like 35 millimeter manual. But there was just like one time that we had like a phase in Texas that it's just like we had to sell it for money. So,
Mm,
but no, like hearing those stories, I didn't even think I was going to do photography. I thought I was going to study music.
right. I was gonna ask you,
But
like, so when does the switch go? You know,
so when we moved to San Antonio, um,
how old are you?
when that I was probably 15, 16. I was
That
like,
that'd be
I
tough, man. You were just starting high school, right? So you probably in your mind thought, okay, I'm gonna go through high school here with these are my friends,
mhm.
and then you move.
Yeah,
Cause
I moved.
I moved after eighth grade, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what am I doing? Yeah, no, we moved because my dad worked in the auto industry. So whenever that crashed, he was one of the people laid off at his work. So we moved when I was like in my junior year to San Antonio because we were following a company, something like that. I don't remember. My memory is really bad.
No, but I mean, judging by your fucking social, all your website and everything, you've been everywhere. You've done a lot, man. You've seen a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like we moved a lot growing up and
Same here.
I didn't mind it. Like I was used to it. I think Chicago is probably the longest place I've been since like
I mean,
moving.
do you find that you don't get attached to anything now?
Uh, I think so. Like I kind of got really attached to Chicago. Just in general because I was looking for jobs before this whole pandemic thing happened and I had like a major interview for like a San Antonio gig. And it was like annual income. I'm like, I haven't had that in a while.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, but do I really want to go? It's like Chicago, my people are here, and like I know this, I know
Chicago's
that.
badass. I mean, having moved to
Mhm.
Vegas in 2016, and I thought, oh, I'm 31. Yeah, at the time I was 31, and I'll move. I've had enough of Chicago. I've seen it all. Blah blah blah. But you miss it, man. Chicago's a special
Yeah.
place. It's a special place, man. The
Like I have,
neighborhoods, the people.
oh yeah, the people. Like I know like my landlord and like I can drink with my landlord. I know the guy across the street. And like we always drink at honky tonk. Like you know the people surrounding you. My best friend lives half a block away. So it's
Yeah, and
you
you
get
can
used
walk. You
to it.
know, like even well, because my wife's a suburbanite. You know, we moved to the suburbs, but I always consider myself from Chicago because like there's just certain things that you do, like you walk outside places. You know, I'm gonna walk to the
Yeah.
store. Like in the suburbs, people are like, "You're walking to the store?" Like, no, yeah.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
You know, in the suburbs,
Everyone,
everybody drives everywhere. You
oh
know.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, suburb life. But like when we were in Michigan, it was just like a house like probably like a mile off and like another house 2 miles off. So there was like we had our own like property and like we can do whatever the fuck we wanted to do with it. But in Michigan, I couldn't live there again. I'll vacation in Michigan, but
Yeah, same thing with
so
Chicago. Like, I mean, I wouldn't move back to Chicago. I miss it. It's weird. I miss the shit out of it, but I wouldn't move back there. You know, I don't miss the winters. Chicago Fourth. I always say this to everybody. Chicago Fourth of July weekend is the best place on the planet. You know,
yeah,
or
definitely here
Memorial
in the
Day
neighborhood.
weekend. You know, like if it's nice, if it's nice, it might be fucking snowing.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it snowed last night.
I heard there was like a fucking 10 car pileup on the Kennedy.
Oh,
Holy
that
shit,
was a 50 car pile up on the
50.
Kennedy. Yeah, like, uh, yeah, it's Chicago.
We get 50 car pileups here if it like sprinkles, you know, because it never rains, you know. So people freak the fuck out when it starts to,
Mhm.
little sprinkles. People are like, ah, I don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's what I when we first moved to San Antonio, there's like the thinnest layer of ice and they closed schools. And I'm like, this is nothing,
Yeah.
guys. Like,
No,
guys,
and
my
that's why Detroit. The other thing is that now that I don't live in the Midwest, when I meet some people from the Midwest, I know that they're from the Midwest even before they say it. You know,
yeah.
be like, we'll be shooting the shit, with some stranger, and we're vibing, and I'm like, hey, where are you from? It's always Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin. I'm like, I
Yeah,
fucking knew it. I fucking knew it.
I just know it. Just know it. You can feel the vibe, the Midwest vibe coming
Yeah, for
through.
real. People, I mean, I feel like, and people from other regions are gonna be like, fuck you, but whatever. But I feel like Midwest people are just like friendly. They're kind of like they like to laugh. They're easygoing in their
Yeah.
conversation. You know what I mean? And that's what I pick up on. I think.
Yeah. I guess we're pretty friendly. Yeah. No, that's
I mean, they're not. You don't think they're gonna go to Chicago and be like, hey, everybody. Well,
uh,
they're friendly at certain times of day. If it's nice out. But
oh yeah, definitely.
so we
Yeah.
were talking. Like when did the switch? You're studying music, you're studying
Oh yeah.
classical, and then you go to photography. When does that switch happen?
I think it started in San Antonio for sure. I think I just started. I picked up my first. My dad got me a Polaroid camera when it was my birthday, and like we didn't have a lot of money, so we went to the flea market, which is a dope ass flea market. I don't know why we didn't take more advantage of it, but like he saw this Polaroid camera. I'm like, I want that, and it was like $5 at the time. And like they still had like the original Polaroid there. So I'm like, ah, I love this thing. So I'm just taking pictures of my friends and just taking pictures of the van. And then we got a digital camera, like a little tiny Kodak one, which is what my recent post has of like the white rabbit in the show and all that kind of stuff. But so I just picked it up and I brought it wherever I went because as I was part of the marching band, so we would travel all over Texas.
All these
And
things
we
are being
did,
revealed.
yeah.
When do you introduce that little tidbit in the conversation? Yeah, I was in the marching band.
I
Obviously,
still have
16 minutes in.
yeah, 16 minutes. I'm not ashamed. I'm a band kid. Fuck it.
No, it's awesome. You know, I wish anybody who listens to the show like knows I've always wished I had learned an instrument. You know, but there was just as a kid, if nobody's around you playing an instrument, no adults, no kids, even if it's hard for you to if you're 6, 7, 8 to say, hey, I want to do this, and then your
Yeah.
parent, my mom's broke, single mom. She's not, she could barely afford to give me food, but never mind a fucking whatever instrument I wanted to play,
Oh yeah, for sure. I remembered when they're like, "Oh, you're a girl. You should play the flute." And I'm like, "Excuse me?"
The same face.
I'm like, "Excuse me?
I
I
don't know
want
what
to play
that
the drum."
means. What does that even mean? I never even heard of that.
This fits you better. And like I've always gotten that in Michigan a
Oh,
lot. Like
is it saxophone a male instrument?
yeah.
What
I
the
wanted
fuck?
oboe actually.
You wanted
But she's
oboe?
yeah.
Man,
But then
you are a band geek, huh?
God.
I want the oboe. They dust it off.
No, they just yeah, no. But I think it switched because I've had this teacher, like it shouldn't have affected me a lot, but in Michigan, my band teacher, she's like, you should get a regular job. Just be a nurse or go into the military. And I'm remembering like these little tiny things when
That
I was
sticks with
growing
you
up.
forever, to your soul forever. And you can
Yeah.
get around it. It actually makes you rise above it, I think. But it's
Oh
always
yeah,
there. It's
definitely.
always there.
Yeah. I was just like, I really want to be like in a like soundtrack music orchestra. Like I'll audition for it or whatever. And she's like, no, you should just get a regular job. Help your parents. I'm like, oh, okay. And like my brother got the same speech and like little things like that in Michigan I'll remember because I
Success.
didn't realize.
I think successful people have like that rage. They're always
Oh,
they're it's a rage that's fueling them. Because if you
oh,
don't have that, then you're just like, yeah, relax.
but I was like, no, this is not going to happen. But then when I moved to San Antonio, there was like this switch in my mind that I'm like, what they were doing with their music program there was really badass. And like, we were competing. I made nationals. I was badass. Texas Music Honors.
Yeah. Texas
But
Music Honors. See, I mean,
yeah.
Jesus, your CV is stacked, dude. Everywhere you go. I mean, what is that? I mean, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That drives you to go and
I'm pretty sure it's just like I wanted to prove her wrong. Like how dare you? Like I could see her treating me different compared to other kids, and I'm just like, oh, that hurts a child
yeah.
inside. Definitely when you're like passionate about like music at the time.
Well, it's like a rejection, man. It's a rejection.
Oh,
You're not part of. You're different, and I think that makes an artist, right? Because I think an artist. That's the first thing. The world. Everybody wants to be accepted by the world. I mean, especially as
yeah.
a kid, right? And then as a kid, the world rejects you, and then you're like, you know what? Then fuck the world. I'm gonna do my own
Yeah.
thing, and then you're an artist.
Exactly. Exactly. But then, yeah, that happened during the switch to photography kind of just happened because I had a camera in my hand the whole time. And then I had an animation teacher. Like, we had animation class. Shit, I
Oh,
would never have gotten that in like
yeah,
Michigan
right.
whatsoever. But he's the one that introduced me to like Photoshop and then like animation, doing 3D renderings of
And
stuff
that's
like that.
surprising in Texas. You'd think it'd be like Bible study 9 to 12 or something. That's what people who aren't from Texas think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
their education is very limited.
But he introduced me into like all those different kind of programmings. Then I started downloading like Picasa, the one before Photoshop, and like all
Wow.
this kind of stuff. And then I found Columbia College during his like class, and I'm like, well, fuck it. There's a photography program here.
Yeah.
This sounds really cool. My dad used to do photography, so I can do this. Like, I'm good. And like my
Well,
parents agreed with that more
that's the thing
than
that I'm saying. Like, as
yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna be a photographer, and you already know that your dad was a photographer, right? And you respect your dad, you admire your dad, so you're like,
Mhm.
oh, so that's a thing I can do.
I also
Whereas if you
admire
don't
his
have that
music.
example, you're like a photographer. I don't even know anybody
Mhm.
who's a photographer. Why do I want to be that?
Yeah. And like my dad had like the best music taste ever too. Like growing up, we'd have like those bookies to like Metallica one day to like some rock. He had a Kid Rock phase, but then that kind of went away. And then Aquid, like my dad liked all music. And like you can see the passion that he has. Like he still has all his cassette CDs and everything like that.
Wow.
So seeing my dad being passionate for like music and collecting his music, but also knowing he did Darkroom and like growing up he did photography for us, like totally drove me to do what I'm doing today.
I mean, I mean, all of your work is photography, not videography. Do you do any videography?
I I
And
record
why
here
do
and
you seem to prefer? I think we're so flooded with images, right? But like
there.
a
Hmm.
really good photo is still there's still magic in it, right? And you
Yeah.
can see like in your work, if you go to what is it, gatophotos.com?
Yeah.
If you go and she has a bunch of stuff on there, you have a bunch of stuff on there. Your photos are arresting, whereas a video isn't arresting. You know what I mean? A video, we're so
Hmm.
used to video, I think nowadays that
Yeah.
when you see a really, really beautifully done photo, that it just is, it makes you stop.
Yeah. I think I didn't like I've taken video here and there and like I was actually planning on doing something with some of the video footage I've done at concerts like during this time because you get Final Cut Pro for free. But I think I
Wait, you
just
get
grew
Final
up
Cut Pro for free? What are you talking about?
for 90 days.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta check
So
that
I
out.
went
I'm still on
yeah.
iMovie.
It works.
Yeah,
You got to do
it's
what you
just
got to do.
I think Final Cut is just easier, right? Faster. If you can
It's a little
master it, it's
easier.
faster.
Yeah, I remember taking a class on it too. That's why I'm just like, okay, I got this. I can do this. So I wanted to like break up the old like music footage and like do like kind of like a reel in a way. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm still thinking about it. But I don't think I like I'm so used to like I first started on manual photography, so 35 millimeter 4x5 and all that kind of stuff. So I think my head is just still there and just wants to stick with photography. Like now I want to introduce 35 millimeter back into my life
I
because I
mean, what's the
haven't.
difference? You're talking to somebody who doesn't know anything about. I take a good photo on my iPhone and put it on Instagram and think
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm pretty good, man. I'm fucking pretty good. But I don't know what the
I
fuck you're talking about. Tell me the difference. I mean, what do you prefer and why? And what's the difference?
well, for now I like now if I had the money I would do mostly all manual 35 film photography. So it's a little bit more challenging and you need to actually know what the fuck is up with your camera. So like in digital you can just go like click, 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 click or whatever. But in 35 you only have 35 frames to deal with on that one roll. So you have to really like think
Oh,
like, oh, what am I going to capture? What's the lighting here? What's this? What's that? Do I need to have
so
a
you have to have
fast?
more of an eye,
Yeah.
whereas with just digital, you can just be like, blah,
Yeah.
and then pick out the best ones.
Clicks everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes you concentrate more on like what you're actually doing. And that's where I first started. Like our class, I think, was the last class at Columbia to do 35 as a requirement. But I also did it before I had to do it in school. And I grew up knowing how to deal with the settings because I would steal my dad's camera every once in a while and then he'll get mad. But he's like, "What are you doing?" I take
But he
pictures of
couldn't
my
have been
bird.
that mad. He was probably just like afraid that you're gonna break it. But like,
Yeah. Yeah. He would know like whenever he like developed the role and then you'll see pictures of birds or like random pictures of like landscape.
That's hilarious. I mean, so I mean,
Yeah.
what you make it describe like I watched Jay Leno's car garage thing, and he always talks about like how the car, cars aren't the same anymore. Like the new cars are so easy to drive. You don't have to know anything
Yeah.
about cars. They just go, they stop. You could be
Hmm.
completely an idiot. Now they self drive, right?
Yeah.
But with like an old car, you have to know, you have to grease it, you got to work on
Yep.
the engine every day, maintain it. You got to drive stick. You have to be focused in it. So that's when you make it. You describing the difference between manual and digital sounds to me
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah, you need to have like it's basically the same thing. If your camera has a light leak, you have to tape it, or like if you know where the light leak's coming from, or you want the light leak, tape it, untape it. You have different lenses, you have different settings. You can have a flash on it if you want it. So it's basically the same thing.
I mean, so and would you say I know you're gonna be all accepting and open minded, but would you say like you're not a real photographer unless you know manual?
Uh, yeah, I'm open-minded, but it's better to know your basics from somewhere than like for me, like dodging and like burning, like lightening the picture and all that,
What's
doing that
dodging?
man dodging is like which dodging is making like a part of the image. So if you're taking like a if you're in the dark room,
Hmm.
there's this option on Photoshop too. So it's like you can take a brush and like dodge an area and like lighten that area so like light doesn't hit it in the dark room. It's like it's a whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah. So like you take like a little like wire with a piece of paper and like you're in the dark room like dodging shit.
that's
But
crazy. I mean,
mhm.
I see in photography class. I took it. We took it in my high school. We all took it the last semester of senior year, and
Mhm.
like there was always people who were really into it, but most people like we just fucked around. We made out in the dark room, like shit like
Yeah.
that. And there was always like a photography person in there who was really
Yeah.
into it and like get out of here.
That's so funny. I wish
And
I
so
had a dark
like now I feel it's again it's like as a you get older and you think like man if I was like when I wish I would have gone and taken that more seriously. I would have really
room.
learned something that's beautifully to do something.
Instead of making out in the dark room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that didn't lead anywhere.
It happens.
I mean, so I see that. I
I,
mean, your
I
bucket list.
oh
First
yeah.
of all, I mean, let's talk about some of them.
Okay. Which
You said
one?
you want to live in Detroit again. I mean, would you move back to Detroit and live there?
Oh, that's not the updated list.
Oh no. What's the updated list? I mean, give me. Do you
It's
still want to learn
basically the
Italian? I,
same.
I want to learn Italian. I'm trying to
Yeah,
learn
no.
French and Italian. That'd be nice, and go to Italy, obviously.
I think I switch Italian for what is it? With the South Korean. Um, yeah,
What was
that
that show
switch.
you named? You wanted to be a guest special. And then I click on it, and it didn't even go anywhere. It went to like a.
I
I'm like,
know.
so like,
Yeah.
what kind of show is this? What is
I'm
it
working
called?
on a
Two
new
nights and
website.
one day or something? One night and 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days and one night. Korean variety show. I started watching it in high school for some reason. I just ran into it. But it's like a
Was it
group
on that? Was it on Channel 26 in Chicago or in
I have
in the Midwest? Because my little sister she used to
KBS
watch Channel 26, and it was a Korean show. And
probably.
I came in and she's watching it. Right? She's like 7, 6. And like, mommy, do you know what they're saying? She goes, no, but and she told me what's going on. Like this girl, that's her husband, blah blah blah. And I'm like, damn.
No, so this one's a variety show. So it's like a reality show in a way. Not reality because reality in these times is defined differently as you can put it. But it's like this group of like six celebrities, guys, girls. They switched it up now. But they travel all over South Korea and they teach you a lot about like where you're traveling. They teach you the history, they teach you the
Fucking love those
food.
shows, man. Rick
Oh
Steves
yeah.
on Channel 11 back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I used to love that show. I love and Anthony Bourdain and
Oh yeah. I remember Globe Trekker. I don't
Globe
know.
Trekker.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Globe
love those
Trekker was
travel
my
shows. Me and
favorite.
my grandma, we can. That's the one thing we bond on. Like good travel show, dude. We'll sit there like quiet.
Oh yeah, same. I'll be like with my chips. No, but
I
it's like they travel all Korea and like they do like these ridiculous things to like to see where you sleep, if you're sleeping inside or outside, if you're gonna eat for the day, or like if you're gonna have breakfast, or you're gonna have like a special treat. But they do different like kind of like random competition games that you see what you're going to do with all that. So,
It's crazy.
but you learn about the area, and I thought that was really cool.
I mean, if you could go anywhere, where would you go? Anywhere in the world?
Right now, like in
Yeah,
my mind,
yeah.
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca. I mean,
Yeah.
you want
I
to. The nice thing, and I think everybody has, especially every second generation. You know, I'm born of immigrants too. Like to buy your parents, you want to buy your parents a house in Oaxaca, and you want to work
hmm
and live there.
Oh yeah. My parents already got their house. They're
Yeah,
lucky. They've been saving up. It's funny too because the layout of that house, like the blueprint, is exactly as the layout of our old house in Michigan,
that's
but it's just made out of
crazy.
cement. Yeah, it's cool though. And like they're making a second story on it, and like our tios live there now. They have a huge garden. Like that's what they really wanted. They have like a place to harvest their own stuff.
So, what kind of
So,
work would you do in Oaxaca? I mean, obviously photography, but like exactly what kind of work?
um, I don't know. I would like not a lot of people know a lot about the folk music of Oaxaca, so that's something I'm really interested in.
I'm just looking through your work and talking to you now. Like, have you seen that Netflix documentary with the two Chicanos? One is a graffiti artist, and
Oh
the other one's a
yeah.
photographer. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's so good. I was just like,
I saw it too, and I'm like, dude, this is she's like a new version of that, you know, like 'cause he was following around all these bands, right? That at the time, you know, they were just coming up or about to break big, you know,
Mhm.
and now those photos are iconic. But when he was just taking them, he was just a fan of the music, right? And he just liked to be in that mix. But like that's kind of like you,
Yeah, it kind of made me cry a little bit because then when it goes to the part where like everything just died
yeah.
and like
They move
what do
out of
you
that
do
studio,
after
the
that?
SA
And then,
studio,
I know. I was just like, oh my God,
and it's
yeah,
all
like
hipstery and it looks
hmm
beautiful, but it looks like everywhere else.
oh yeah, it looks like everything else. But like that kind of hit hard because I feel like I'm stuck in this like cycle of doing shows and like I am going to these shows, but then everything just stopped. Like with this pandemic, just kind of like everything's done. Like I've had 21 gigs canceled on me this month. And like, where do I go from here? How do I restart? How am I going to pay rent next month? Blah, 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 blah. So it's just
When are
like,
you expecting it to end? I mean, everybody has their theories, you know.
I don't think it's going to be until next year. Like, even in live entertainment,
I was
like,
gonna say for you, especially for what you want to do, right? You're talking about crowds, people. You know, it's
hmm
a concert. People are shoulder to shoulder, sweaty. You know,
yeah, like it's going to be super different from now on. Like, maybe have half capacity or like something, have some more restrictions in like live entertainment festival shows. Like, all the festivals in Chicago are done for the summer. There's nothing going to happen. So, I think they said till July, but I feel like it's going to go a little longer than that.
and I mean, we're over here in Vegas, so like, you know,
Oh my God.
the mayor's like open up the city, but then you know, you say you open up Chicago, you open up Vegas. That
hmm
doesn't mean like the casinos are gonna flood back to the original what they were at, and the strip's gonna be. People are gonna stay away. I mean, they're
hmm
gonna stay away, like you said, for probably for a long time. Like this is a generational thing. Like it's gonna affect
Yeah.
the way we congregate, right?
Oh, definitely. It's going to affect everything. Like, yeah.
Do you know anybody who's got it, who had it?
um, I know a few people. One has recovered. One unfortunately passed away. So, and then another is, I think he just got his diagnosis. So,
My brother's a CEO at Stateville,
mm,
and they had him working the medical ward, and so like you know, it just freaks me out. Like, you know, part of me is like, I should be checking on him every day, but then I'm like, I
hmm
don't want to freak him out. I don't want to freak myself out. Like,
I already
I'm,
freaked
I'm,
myself out.
that's the way I am. Like, you know, like I think bad news will find me, but I don't
hmm
go looking for it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like I did like a little thing for the quarantine times, and this was the time, like the day before, they're like, "Oh, you should be wearing face
Talk about
masks
that because I was gonna
outside."
bring on Stephanie, but I didn't know how to do a Google Hangout. My thing is Skype.
Oh,
I love Skype, and so I was gonna bring her on and talk about the quarantine times. Actually, Wednesday, but
I'm
it's
actually
postponed.
talking to her after
Oh yeah.
I talk to you. Yeah, we're gonna have a Zoom meeting
I
because
mean,
we're gonna
anybody who doesn't know, it's Lupin, right, is doing it,
loop in radio. Yeah.
and she's the editor on Tuesdays, I think.
Hmm.
and it's this blog, right? It's called The Quarantine Times. It's in Chicago, and they're basically just giving people information and documenting this unique period in time.
Hmm. It's basically like a documentation of different artists and what they're doing at this time, and like how they're taking it. There's like one with someone who actually has COVID, and they talk about their experience going through getting tested, thinking about their family because they have a baby on the way. So it's
I'm
just
actually
different chronicles of people and artists and people who were associated with and like how they're dealing with it. So,
There's this pianist in Colombia, and she was in quarantine because she had COVID, and she just came out with a CD this week, and I'm going to talk to her on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, I've been lucky that where I'm at, it's not that bad. I think Nevada did really well. I think considering Illinois did pretty well. I mean, again, there
yeah.
was people who didn't take it seriously, but I think
Hmm.
the city, from what I mean, maybe you can tell me because I'm not there. I mean, how did the governor handle it? How did Mayor Lightfoot handle it?
I think the governor handled it like is doing really well handling this, even though he's going at Trump, but all these tweets and everything. But he's handling it really well, I think. Whenever that St. Patrick's weekend happened, I was out for work, so I was doing stuff. But when my cousin, he's in England right now, he he messaged me. He's like, "Stop going out," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, like good." Like
Yeah,
I will listen to you, your family. Like,
yeah.
and then he's like, have you stocked up? And like, you send me articles about stocking. And I'm just like, okay, I have all the basic necessities now. But I think the one thing here is just getting the message to everyone in the community, like for both different languages. We need to help each other and like rely on this information. Relay, I don't know what word it was, but
No, no, no. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
hmm.
Relay it.
Hmm.
Yeah, like make
Hmm.
sure that everybody knows, everybody's on the same page. Because
Yeah.
I feel like it came slowly, but then it fell so suddenly.
Hmm.
Like I was covering the Nevada caucuses in February, so I didn't really. I had heard that there was a coronavirus in Asia and that that it was
Hmm.
in Washington. So it was kind of like in my peripheral, right?
It was
And
like
then it,
in the back of your mind.
right, and
So.
then I went to the store one day, and then the toilet paper and paper towel aisle is completely fucking empty, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
It was interesting because they were saying that like the toilet paper is out of stock in like this store and that store, but Casa de Pueblo was stocked up all this whole time.
Really?
Yeah, like my mom's like, she called me when I was in Casa de Pueblo. She's like, "Do you need toilet paper? Do you have toilet paper?" I'm like, "I have toilet paper, and I'm staring at toilet paper like right here in front of my face." She's like, "Oh, because I have an uncle that can get shit." He's like, "Se puede, you can get a
Yeah, the
box for
fucking
you."
narcos switch from cocaine to fucking toilet paper.
Toilet paper. He's like, "Oh, if you need it, like your uncle can get you a box." I'm like, "I don't need a box. I just need like two of
Wait,
these little things."
a box of toilet paper? I didn't even know they came in boxes. Shit,
I didn't
I got
know
a
either
box.
because apparently my brother like couldn't find toilet paper and he lives in Glen Ellen. So
Yeah,
I'm
no, we
just
couldn't
like,
find it for three weeks. But we had a big pair, and it's not like we're
hmm.
fucking big cagones, over here.
Yeah, for real though. I'm like, I still have the pack that I bought from him. Like my mom first called me, so
Yeah, I guess everybody's shitting themselves, man. Fuck.
I guess so.
But
Damn, they're having it rough.
I mean,
But
it's been really good to talk to you, man. It reminds me of the old Gosamos
I
days, man.
know.
I I look back at that time and I realize, oh, that was a special time. Like that was, we
Hmm.
were like and it's still happening, like with quarantine times, and like Pilsen is
Hmm.
a special area where people who young, especially young people, or people who are passionate, or people who have talents, all kinds of people go to Pilsen, and they
Oh
find
yeah.
each other.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
we
at
somehow find
Gosamos
each
is
other.
where I learned a lot about Latino culture.
Yeah, after FML, I met Abraham, and then Abraham, he's like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Why not? Let's do this." And like that just kind of escalated everything else. So
I
this
mean,
like the experience at Los Alamos is really cool, and definitely like learning of behind the scenes of like event planning and like all that kind of stuff too.
what would you say to somebody who, especially Latino, right? Let's put it out there. I'm not an identity politics person, but let's,
Same.
things are different for different people.
Hmm.
And
What should I?
if you're a young white person, being an artist is not so crazy. If you're a young Honduran, Puerto Rican, Mexican,
Mhm.
second generation, your parents are immigrants and they're hard workers, and then you want to be an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, so what would you say to that kid? Like, you're an artist, right? And you're around artists, and that's a special privileged. It's a
Mhm.
privilege that you fight for, right? Every fucking
Yep.
day, every week, right? Now you're out of your work, and so that's a weight that you carry, but you carry it because you want to be an artist. So I mean, I know it's a deep question to end on, but
That's a
like, you know what I
deep
mean? Like,
question.
what do you say to a young kid who wants to get into art?
I say always practice what you love. Always, you don't have to master it. Like, I'm like not the master of photography or anything like that. But whatever you like doing, do it. The people who do want to help you out are sincere. Um, I didn't get that in the beginning, so um, like I had people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, do this, do that," and I'm just like, "No," they just want to take advantage of me, blah blah blah. But
Mm.
there's actually real people who want, like, there's common sense to that too. Like, like
Do you think that? I
you
mean,
know,
do you think that's a girl thing? I mean,
I think
there's
so.
things
Like,
as a guy that when I hear a girl say it, I go, "Oh wow, yeah, you're right. It is different for girls." Like a guy
it's
doesn't go into a situation thinking people are going to take advantage of me.
I think so. I think it's a possibility, but also I kind of saw that in the journalism field because I was usually the only girl shooting this hearing or the mayoral campaign. I was the one woman photographer between all the different candidates. And like they didn't take me seriously. There's this one point where I think I was covering Rauner for some reason. And then
Yeah, I
we
saw a
all
runner
had a
picture in there.
oh yeah. There's a funny one. I have to send you that one. But there's I put my camera down because I was the first one there and I was like right at the spot that I wanted it. And I went to the bathroom real quick. And everyone was doing this. Like everyone had their camera down with their passes on it too. And then all of a sudden my camera got bumped all the way down to the end of the stage.
Holy
And I'm just
shit!
like I was here early. This is where I'm gonna be at. Like experiences like that kind of like upset me and it's like these professionals who you look up to and they're
Pieces
gonna
of
act
shit.
like douches.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I kind of stopped working in the journalism in that aspect of like news political kind of stuff. But then I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do my own shit
Yeah. No, I mean,
and work with people who actually want to work with you. And
people have
I'm
told
not
me like, have you considered going to journalism school? And maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And then I just know who I am. I know how I
gonna. Mhm.
am, and I know how people in journalism are. And I just
Yeah.
know it's gonna be I'm gonna I'm gonna be eating dog shit for however for the rest for the rest of my career. And I'm like, am I ever gonna be on MSNBC or fucking CNN or ABC? Like, no. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
today at 5. Like no, I just can't do it, man. Me cuesta. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm not saying I'm not doing journalism. It's just
Right.
like
Just
in
doing your own kind of
political.
journalism. I mean,
Yeah, my
the internet's
own.
big, man. And if you do something that you love to do and you do it with skill, you do it with passion, and you're it's not you say I'm not an expert, I'm not a master at photography, but you're damn fucking good, right? I mean, you're amazing. Um, and you're gonna
I think
keep
I have
getting
enough.
better at it because you're passionate. So people
Hmm.
will find it, and that's the beauty
Yeah,
about the internet. You don't have
for
to,
sure.
if it was 30 years ago, you'd have to write for some newspaper, only two in town, and it was
Hmm.
only, what you couldn't take photos of whatever you wanted.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think the final advice is like, don't be scared to ask. You never know what's gonna happen. That was
Closed
my
mouth don't
fear.
get fed. A closed mouth don't get fed, right?
For real though. Oh, I haven't heard that in a while.
Well, even in Spanish, no que habla, no come, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so
But
true.
it's super true. Like if I didn't send an email to like FML, like I would have gotten the experience that I've had for this long time to do my festival work. Like if you need advice on something, if you want to be mentored by someone, just ask. Like,
Put yourself out there, like, and that's why art and being an artist is completely different than what most people do because it's like you have a regular job, you have a wife, you have a house, you have a mortgage, and so you're supposed to like be a certain form, a certain
mhm,
type of person. and you hide all the thing that's everything that's weird about you, right? Everything that's quirky, everything that's not people are not going to understand. And
Hmm.
the thing about being the battle about art is that putting all that shit out there, and that's tough, man, because you're so
Yeah.
insecure, especially if you're brown in America, right? You're insecure. You're like nobody's gonna. People are gonna think I'm weird. Your whole life you've been told you're different, and
Hmm.
so people are gonna be, oh, that's weird. You're weird, But that's what you got to do.
I already know I'm weird. I don't give a shit
Yeah, you
anymore.
got to accept it, right? And you
Yeah.
got to start celebrating it. Yeah, I'm fucking weird.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, there was a point where someone wanted to do my own to do a solo show with me, and I was just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. Like the aspect of seeing music without hearing it, like always like messes with my mind in a way. But like they were willing to do it, and I was like, well, fuck it, let's do it. But then it's already like it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have my own solo show soon,
Yeah.
hopefully after this whole thing blows over.
And that's the other thing. I mean, you have something in your mind that you see it. And
Hmm.
I'm a huge, I haven't read The Secret. People say, there was that period where everybody's like, read The Secret, read The Secret. I haven't read it. I'm not going to read it. But just from my own experience, I know like if I focus on something, like if I'm obsessed with something or something happening, it eventually happens. And that's weird.
Yeah. No, and like everyone's been asking, and I'm just like, for like probably 5 years, they're like, oh, do you have prints? Do you have like, do you want to do your own show? What are you going to do with it? And like, I have a lot of stuff that I haven't shown. And like, that's why I've been taking this time to go through like my archives. And because I have like 5 hard drives full of stuff. I have like the mega big terabyte, the first terabyte that came out, that was like this big, huge block. That's like the beginning of like Columbia College, but also different shows that I haven't even posted. I'm like, I should post these. Maybe I should make like a database of like shows that I've seen. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to pull and like put on social media. And I think that's what I can do during this time. Like, still
And all
have
these
like,
artists know you as a photographer and they
mhm,
know your work. And so, I'm doing a show or I'm going to put together a show is like, you're not somebody from nowhere, right? You're not somebody from
mhm.
nowhere.
Oh, snap.
So I mean, what draws your eye? I mean, we started with the polka dots. I guess we'll end on the polka dots. Like so. That's interesting to me that you like polka dots, right? But that means it's something. That's how your eye works, right? Some things catch it. What do you like?
Yeah.
What do you look for in a composition?
Oh, damn. It's interesting because polka dots has this history of in flamingo dancing, it's it's to wear off the evil eye. So the circles on the dresses. Like I went into a whole like research of like what do polka dots mean and like what is this? And it's also due to polka. There's like different levels of like what polka dots are about in different
One's
like
polka and one's a
time periods.
dot.
Yeah. And it's actually due to polka music too. Like
Oh.
that's what they say it's like the origin of polka dots is. So it's interesting how polka dots also has an aspect of music in a way, which also
Dude, you're fucking, and I'm already smoking weed, and you're fucking blowing my mind over here, man.
I'm
Fuck.
about to get my Monaco over there. No, it's good.
Holy
No.
shit.
So I think the thing that grabs me is that I like the challenge of capturing something in low light, and that's what like shows is all about. The composition, action. Like when I was working with the Bulls, like action was like my life. I loved it. Even though I was shooting the Love Bulls, it was something that I really loved. And like seeing different aspects of shows and like knowing the band that you're shooting as well, like their music and like how they like incorporate like the lighting with the music and like how the music sounds. So if you know where like the climax of the song is or like where the high point of the song is, that's when you know like the band's gonna get really into it. If you like I've worked with Dos Santos for several years, probably since 2014, 16, something like that.
Time flies.
But um I've always done their portrait and like whenever I see them like I see them all the time, like shooting their shows because it's the first band I've actually got to work with. And I just know every little tiny thing each player likes to do while they play. So working with bands like that, like it's great to see if something does change or like like with the music changes them. They're working on a new album now, so I'm just like curious for like the next photo shoot, whenever that is, like what the music is gonna make them
It's so
feel.
interesting. I mean, you're changing the way I'm thinking about photos because you're like, everybody says capture, capture, but that's literally what you're trying to do in a photograph, right? Trying to capture not how something looks, but what something is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And the
And
more you
like
know about a band or something, the more you can capture it. You know how to capture it.
research is key, and people don't think that. People think,
Oh, yeah. They just go to if somebody, hey, do this photograph gig, photographer gig, I would just go with a camera and just shoot around. I don't know what the fuck.
am I letting out my secrets? Oh shit.
No, but that's important, right? People have to
It
see,
is.
like, especially in art, people think like people have this idea that art is just like, nah, I just do whatever, and
Yeah.
I do that from 4 to 6 every day. No, it's your life. It's
Yeah.
you like you said, you research polka dots. Some people don't do that. People always say to me like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, I looked it up. I researched it.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." I'm like, "What do you
I
do? You
see.
just think of something and it's okay, keep going."
I think I mentioned this in my Quarantine Times article too, that people just think that I go to shows and drink and like just live life. I'm like, no, I'm going to see either a new band or going to photograph a band. I always have my camera on me. I have a friend, I think you know him, Jose Calvo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always like, you should always have your camera on me. And like that, I was like, that's true. But then also I've been robbed a few times. So like if I know I'm going to a safe place and like I'm going to be fine, I'll take my camera with me. And but I'm always out and about just trying to like learn about new bands, see if they need help or like see if like they want to do something photography wise, how they are at their shows. And yeah.
Yeah, I ran into an old friend one time I was covering Spring Awakening. Yeah.
Oh my.
And because I used to I went through a Molly, EDM phase.
Mhm. I
But
think we've all had that.
yeah. And I would recommend it. But I ran into an old friend at Spring Awakening, and I was covering it, and I told him, I showed him my pass, hey, I'm covering it, and he gave me this look like, yeah, okay, yeah, and that pissed me off because he thought I was just there partying, right? That I just
Yeah.
got a press pass because I wanted to go for free, and so yeah, that's kind of like what you said with your teacher, right? That ever since. I was covering it seriously, but it made me cover it even more seriously as a writer,
Yeah.
right? As a journalist, and every time I go to an event, people see I cover concerts or whatever. I make a point to like really do the work and to
Yeah.
do it really well so that people know I'm not just fucking, this is what I love to do. It's not something that I'm just floating through.
Yeah, exactly. And like you also get those people that are just like, "Hey, can you get me into the show?" I'm
Oh,
like,
for sure.
"Oh my God." I'm just like, "No." That's my answer. No. Black.
Yeah, because then I got to babysit you, and I'm here, I'm focused, and I don't even like going places with my wife or somebody like that because I'm not going to be attentive.
Yeah, and like I even feel weird if like I'm like, can I photograph the show? Like I hate asking that. Like if I can support the artist, I will buy my ticket. But I would only ask it if I can't get my camera in.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I support my artists. I buy my tickets.
You gotta support artists, man. And
Definitely journey.
if you can't buy the ticket, then again, do them justice with your work.
Mm-hmm.
Do them justice with
Exactly.
your work. But thank you so much, Gato, for coming on.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Stay safe. It's good to talk
Yeah,
to you.
you
And
too.
I look forward to seeing more of your work, man. It's really
Yeah. Thanks for
you
having me.
you now. Whenever I put something on Instagram, I'm not gonna feel so full of myself.
Damn.
I'll try to do some dodging though. I'll see what I can
Do some dodging. Do some dodging and burning.
Yeah. Thanks, Gato.
Yeah, no. Bye.